All right, what's up? I'm gonna show you how to contour your face using these amazing brushes and giving you some key tips when you contour for your face shape. So stick with me, we're gonna roll this out. I want you to take a look at how things look right now, how smooth they are, how I don't have a really strong contour on my cheek. Like I do have blush, but it's not, I'm scared for you to zoom in if I don't have it perfect. But it's not like just this strong coloring. Everything is just molded together really softly and really well. The purpose of contouring is to add a shadow. So when we add a shadow right directly under our cheekbone, when we kind of fill this in, when we fill in this jawline, it brings attention to our eyes. When we're going too high with things, it actually makes people's attention go to those areas, and the focus we want is right here. Now I'm going to remove this side because this side's a little more easy to work with for you, but I'm gonna remove this side and so that you can see how I contour, and then I'll add a little bit of foundation in with that too, because I want you to get in the groove of contouring. Now, when you contour, it all depends on what your face shape is. So hear me out here. For a long face, you want to focus more on shortening it out, right? So you're gonna put it right along here and right more so along here. For a wider face, you're going to focus more on getting your contour right in here and not so much at this point and this point, so we can make it look longer. Now, if you're somebody that has a round face with a shorter forehead, like shorter hairline that comes a little down closer to the brows, you make sure that you don't really put anything that's a contour along that part, and we're gonna keep the focus right in here. If you have a round face but you feel like you have a bigger forehead, you can put that contour up there, but you don't wanna be bringing it down too much because it's gonna make your face look more squished. So you have to gauge where you're at with that. If you're somebody who has a long face and a larger forehead, you can bring your contour down pretty low to help frame in that face so that attention goes back to your eyes. So again, you do have to gauge it based off of you. I can't tell you exactly. If you're somebody that has the heart-shaped face, you want to make sure you get your contour in where the heart points are, because that means too that you have more of that receding hairline a little bit as well, that this has a little bit more room to it. So you do want to get that contour line there. And if you're somebody that has a very square face, we want to make sure that we bring the contour, so we fill in that point. So we're going to make it more rounded, right? So we're going to put contour along here. It will finish out here, and we're also going to shape out some and shade right along that jawline right there. That's going to draw it then down into this neck, okay, or to this jaw. So if you do have a very square face, we're framing the face by shadowing the edges of that square points, okay? So here, and then our normal frame in here. All right, so I'm gonna show you a couple different brushes that I use. Let me get that cleaned up with where I wiped off my face. All right, so I have 3 brushes here for you. I have the buff brush, I have the detail brush, and I have the blend brush. So I wanted to show you these 3 brushes. There's a couple others that you can do too, but I'm gonna focus in on these 3 brushes for you, okay? So when I contour with the buff brush, I'm gonna use the smaller end of it so that I can really just get into underneath and chisel out that cheekbone. When I use the detail brush, I'm gonna use this flat side of it, and I'm actually just gonna put color on one side of this brush, and I'm again gonna be hugging into that cheekbone. And when I use the blend brush, I'm gonna be using the small side, and I'm going to be getting good in with that cheekbone. I may turn it around and blend it out just a little bit with a soft hand. So we're gonna start this out with my favorite brush. My favorite brush is the detail brush. And the reason why it's my favorite is I like that I can just choose one side of it to work on, and if I ever got too much product, I can turn it over and blend it out with that side. So I'm gonna come in here and I'm going to dig out my contour. So with the foundation that we use from Saint Beauty, we want to kind of pounce in like this, because a little bit goes a long way. Like it already, just from me barely softly pouncing, it's already there. Can you see that? It's already there on the brush. A little bit goes a long way. But with this one, even with that sweeping that I did, it seems like not very much gets on the brush. And once it's like not as new, it'll just glide in there a lot easier because you will have already figured out. I wanna show you something. Where did I put my guy? So this is a newer brush that I'm giving you. My brush has not been cleaned lately because I want this video to look prettier than what my brush is, but it is so used to kind of bending with me that on mine, I've had mine for 3 years, that now when I put this on my face, I know that exact pressure to press with it. But when you get these new brushes, they don't know you yet. You gotta form a relationship. This sounds so corny. I'm kidding, but I'm not. But you'll figure out how hard you should press into it. So we're going to do a sweep to get the product out, okay? And then I'm going to take this product and I'm gonna wiggle back and forth that first little bit like so. After I do that, I'm gonna come and frame. And this is a really good thing to do for a lot of face shapes, especially those so if you're someone who has a shorter face shape and so that you can't come in here very much, this coming in and framing right here on this corner and lifting, so we're under the cheekbone and then we lift it up and kind of frame it in there. It allows you to look like you have more of a cheek and you're not so flat in the front, okay? So this is actually giving that depth. Now that I don't have very much left on my brush, I'm coming in here and I'm kind of creating this little arc, like C shape, because a skeleton has that arc to it, right? A skeleton doesn't just like come so flat. And so we're trying to mimic, even if your skeletal system is just a little different, we're trying to mimic that hug to cup a cheekbone. And that little lift right here on the back side, it does wonders. Okay, so then with my face shape, it's long. So I'm gonna come across the front and I'm going to come in and feed this along the sides and the front. Okay, like so. I'm not going to my brow, but I am getting in that hairline. Okay, and then my jawline, I'm coming right in here to chisel out. So if you ever feel like you don't have that chiseled jawline like you're wanting, you can come in here and just shade that area that creates a shadow and then shade down this. And now this is all shadowed. Make sure you get back to your ear if you're fair in skin there. And now that's all shadowed, creating more of that chiseled jawline. So anytime you feel like your jowls are just shifting, you want this not to be on, but to be under. So it goes right directly under and it's gonna give you that chiseled jawline, okay? All right, so that is how I do the detail hack brush. All right, the next one I'm gonna do is the blend brush, or sorry, this one's the buff brush. So that small end again, when I come into this, you can sweep it out that way, but I find it a little bit easier when I drag it this way and I get that product on the brush. Now, see how the brush is at this angle? I like to take it and turn the brush so I'm kind of sitting it at this angle. Okay, so I don't come in like this. I come in turned like this. And when I do that, I bring this in, again, draw my line, okay, and then I pop this up. And this can stipple, okay, and then I pop this up. So if you want that stronger contour line, this one can give it to you. Indeed, okay? So now that's like not blended out, anything like that. So am I just gonna smear the crap out of this? No, and also, if you ever get too much on the brush, again, turn it over and do kind of the same thing that you can do on that other brush when you get too much on one side. Just turn it over to the other, like see on this one, how I put it on that side, but if I got too much, I could turn it over like that. Okay, this is the same thing, but you're gonna turn it over to this big guy right here and tap and blend it out. Now, I don't go back and forth and like rub it out. This is how I do it. I'm just gonna keep stippling and hug. Stipple and hug. And then I am gonna turn it back around and I'm gonna make sure that I cleaned all this up because I don't wanna get too heavy up in here because that's where my blush is gonna go and it's gonna look very pretty. I'm gonna show you blush just because I kind of made my cheek red right there from messing around with it. So I'm gonna add blush to this and show you what it looks like now. Now I take my blush and I can pop it in there. Okay, I got too much. And then I'm gonna come right here and I'm just gonna keep stippling, or grab a different brush, because there is a different brush that is easier for this than this. But what's cool is you can accomplish this using the same brush. Okay, and then the two are married together and they look very pretty. This is what I would normally go in with, is the blush brush right here. And then that is blended out and so very pretty. Okay, so that is how I would do the buff brush. All right, the third brush that I wanna show you is the blend brush. So this is, if you're wanting a really light application, this is a soft mamma jamma right here too, but this is such a good makeup brush for you. Well, they all are. The Saint brushes are insane. Now, what I'm showing you is very detailed way to contour, but if you're somebody who's a beginner at contouring or you don't understand highlight and contour, this is the perfect tutorial for you. So if you wanna share this to a friend who's struggling with it as well, you can share it. But don't forget to like and comment on these videos, but subscribe more importantly, because I would love it if you did. You can join the little family. That would be fun. So I'm gonna finish this out using this final brush for you. I'm gonna go in with that small end, and with this one, I'm gonna sweep it out like this. So I'm kind of going away from me and I'm getting it on that brush. I'm finding where under that cheekbone is exactly, and I'm just gonna I'm actually very softly touching my face right now. I'm gonna put it in that small area. Again, that short, I don't come in, because when you come in, if you put your contour in here, you look dirty. Don't do it, okay? So I'm gonna put that in there. I'm gonna chisel my way up into this front part. And I'm very softly touching my face, and then of course it's gonna come to the front up here. So it's that really soft hand, and you just see how light that is. Now again, if I ever applied too much to my brush, if I ever got out of hand, I would just go finish the rest of my face, get all the product where it's needed, and then if I needed to still to blend it out, I'd turn it over and with a soft hand blend it in. But look how pretty that contour looks. With my blush then, I would take this side of the brush, I would just like tap it in, and then I'd swirl. And these little swirls, this is how I get my blush on using that same brush. In fact, this brush is amazing at an all over face. And I'll do another tutorial some other time with these brushes for all over looks, because they truly are incredible brushes. I know some very amazing makeup artists that use these and love these. They are so, so good. Saint has got it going on when it comes to the quality of stuff that they use. Quality makeup, quality brushes, all the details that they put into everything. And PS, everything's in one compact, which means I don't have to carry one giant makeup bag for it. All right, and that is that. So we have an amazing contour line where it's not too carried away. We did not come here towards the front, so I'm not creating a darkening, a grossness, whatever. Now, let's give a little bit of detail to some key issues that people might be having with contouring in general. One, my contour looks muddy. If your contour looks muddy, one, it could be that you're just smearing it on your face too much, okay? It can be muddy for you too. It can be a little too ashy, things like that as well. But the number one thing I want to address is, are you using too much and taking too big of a place on your cheek? If you have a big area that is being covered in that contour, you're using way too much. The contour is meant to come directly under that cheekbone and create a shadow. Anytime that you take away from that, you no longer have a shadow under the cheekbone, you now have all this product on the cheekbone, and you don't like it. There's also a difference between a contour and a bronzer. The contour goes under the cheekbone to create that shadow and create that lift, and the bronzer is applied on the cheekbone to create warmth because that's where the sun hits it most. Okay, so your bronzer will go on the cheekbone. Another thing that you wanna make sure with if it is too muddy is it might just have a little more ash in it than what's needed. And for me, I'm gonna be honest with you, depending on the time of year, depends on what colors I use. So in the summertime, I actually do really, really good with a straight, like a really warm color. But in the wintertime, the warm colors look way too warm on me, almost pulling me a pink. So that's when I have to bring in more of some ashiness to it. So sometimes it works if I will double dip. I will do, this one has a little bit more ash, and then I usually keep all my makeup in this palette, but it's in there just for this tutorial. But I actually have a really warm contour. I will show you the difference in the two. I got blush on there. So here is a really warm contour called Stone. And this is a really, it's like got a little more ashy in it called Astoria. So I will grab a little bit of both depending on the time of year, or I'll just use Stone in the summertime. So that's gonna shift it too. But any time that you might feel it's a little too muddy, there's always a 30-day return and a 60-day exchange with Saint, or you can just blend it with another color to grab in a little bit more warmth there too. It's always fun to have a couple of other colors on hand, which is what I do, again, depending on the time of year. So those are a couple things that you can address with that. All right, so while I wrap up this next little troubleshooting thing with you, I'm gonna put on that foundation back on top of this. So I like to actually go in and do my contour first. And the reason I like to go in and do that contour first is because you can tell you can wear less makeup. When you go in with the contour first, you can see what type of color correcting you need to do, or maybe your skin doesn't bother you like you thought it did. And setting that contour first can make such a huge difference for you. So try it, let me know if you like it, but it has been a game changer for me because now I'm not putting foundation where I put the contour or where I put the blush, because I'm putting those on first actually. So my key method to apply is actually contour first, is actually blush first, and then I go in and add my foundation only where I need to. Another troubleshooting problem that people have is, again, applying too much and they feel like it's not working correctly. Slim it down. I know I discussed this a little bit earlier, but I wanna make sure I put emphasis on it. This isn't to cover your whole cheek. It is legit to create a shadow under the line, okay? And you don't need, under the cheekbone. You don't need a lot. Don't bring it in here like some of these little models do, especially the older you are, like me, okay? So, or older. So keep that nice and short because by the time you blend it out, it's gonna help create that cheekbone so your face doesn't go so flat. If you choose, you can contour your nose. You can go in with this end of the detail brush and again, sweep it out and come in and chisel out that nose. Nose contouring is something that's a personal preference, but I'm gonna be real with you. One of the easiest ways to contour your nose is take your two fingers and slide them down your nose. Notice how it already forms it, chisels it out, okay? And then you'll blend that out with your brush because you don't want to see actual contour lines on your nose. Noses will gravitate to pull red. If you were to use a warm contour, your nose, you're gonna be like, why are you turning pink? So make sure on your nose, you're pulling in a very ashy contour, especially if your nose turns more red. So you might have to use, we have this color called Ash, or we have this color called Astoria, like the one that I'm using, that's gonna help your nose contour look a little more dialed in and not turning your nose so red. So that makes a huge difference with that. As far as your forehead goes with your contours, if you ever get self-conscious of it, know that it's okay, but you never wanna end your contour with a line across your forehead, and you always wanna get it into your hairline really well. So if you tend to finish your contouring and you have this line across your forehead, I want you to take your brush and I want you to turn it over and I want you to lift it up and blend out that line right there on your forehead so it's nice and soft and even out. All right, my last and final tip for you is sometimes people say my contour isn't showing up. And I want you to think of this. Every now and then you could have gotten too light of one, but if I'm color matching you, because with Saint Beauty, I can become your artist and I can color match you. If I am color matching you and I've helped you with your contour and knowing dark from not, sometimes when we apply our contours, we apply it very lightly, but we tend to over blend and we just rub and we rub and we rub and we can't get it. The other thing that I kind of discussed in the beginning is when you do have a new brush and you go and put it on, you think that it's not really coming on, so you don't use very much. So if you have to go in and grab a little bit more, grab a little bit more. But I don't want you to over blend, because that's one of the biggest mistakes people do, or they think they're supposed to have a very dark contour line and you don't need to. Sometimes when we are doing these videos, the light grabs that line a lot stronger than what it really is, even if we were to do photography. And so because of like how the room is around you or how the camera is, it might pull that light. So in real life, when I'm looking at the mirror, I don't see a really, really strong line. I see that there is a shadow there, but it's not too terribly strong. So if you see too light of one, but when you're watching someone's videos, they just seem so dark, it can just be the video that you're seeing. And so I wanted to point that out too, so that you don't get confused as that. All right, you guys, there are my tips for contouring using these 3 brushes. Again, the blend brush, the buff brush, and the detail brush. I absolutely love these gems. So if you have any one of them, or if you get other ones, you can too. I'm a huge fan of this blush and bronzer brush. These 2 right here with those 2 together, that's like money, but you can't go wrong with these babies too. All right, take care, have a good one. Don't forget to follow me over on Instagram at jocelyn.mcclellan. Make sure you like this channel, and if you want to see more tutorials from me on Tuesdays and Thursdays, go to Facebook at Fit Mission Makeup with Jocelyn McClellan. Thanks, take care.